It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're in a gaming mood.
Ooh, pew, pew, pew.
From Mortal Kombat all the way to Halo. And
I forgot about the Mortal Kombat news already.
That was my favorite thing to send you this week, Mike, in our chat messages. Star Wars is also tripling down on their game, so we'll talk about what that means for people. Spider-Man's script is all online in its entire unabashed glory, and more.
And more. Yeah, we're in a bit of a gaming mood, and it's lucky because I feel like we can fill some of the episode this week with games because we were talking earlier, it's a lighter news week, and we think it's because it's kind of like the current kind of media climate at the moment. Like, I feel like a lot of stuff is being saved for the Super Bowl here in 2 weeks. Yep. We actually got a little bit here just before we started recording from one of the do they call it the playoff games? AFC playoff games?
The AFC championship game today. So this will determine one of the two teams going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So we got a trailer that just came out of that. So luckily we waited a couple minutes to start recording the episode here. But yeah, I feel like a lot of the media blitz is being held back for like a couple of weeks, right?
This
so
is
we're
a calm before a calm before a
Yes.
storm, right? Like literally we have the Super Bowl, and then literally 2 weeks later, I think, or three is the Batman hitting, you know? So, I mean, like, if you're going to get content, you're going to get it those days, not right before those days.
Question. Do you think when it comes to Disney Plus at the Super Bowl, do you think we're going to be getting like a specific trailer for one Disney Plus property, or do you think we're going to kind of get a big sizzle reel for the platform in general, just like 30 seconds of everything?
I think it'll be property based. I think the Obi-Wan Kenobi show is probably one of the few shows that could possibly quote unquote break the internet, Mike, based on how long have we waited for Ewan McGregor to return and Hayden Christensen to return. Honestly, when have we ever thought about the prequels in a good light? Only after the sequels came out, right? So I think that has a huge opportunity, and honestly, from the Marvel point of view, I believe a She-Hulk trailer showing She-Hulk and Abomination in their CGI forms and human forms could really cause a lot of people to be like, oh, I'm interested in this now.
Yeah, because we did get the Moon Knight trailer kind of out of the way, I suppose, so you don't have to worry about Disney putting up marketing dollars to air that again in the Super Bowl. I would err on the side of safety in my prediction and say it'll probably be more of a sizzle reel that could possibly lean heavily more towards like a particular thing in those like 30 seconds, however much Disney wants to buy. But I do agree. I think Obi-Wan probably could hold its own like 30-second spot and then say, oh, go online to watch like the full trailer.
Yeah,
right?
It could even be a 15-second if they wanted to, or 30-second, like 15 seconds of like, here's stuff from the movies and here's the new stuff. Because I think once you show Darth Vader, right, and lightsabers in a trailer, everyone's ears perk up, no matter who you are. Like, especially you, Mike, because you love lightsabers so much. As soon as you see them and hear the sounds, you're going to be like, I need to go figure out what this is. So.
Also, this is kind of a more of a special Super Bowl in the sense of last year, right? What could you promote? Nobody knew when we were going to be going back to the movies, right? The vaccines were, I think at that point,
barely coming out.
They just started to like roll out, right? So I think maybe we'll have some bigger outings this year. I mean, I'm down for the commercials. We have we have the I forget all the tiers of Peacock. We are one tier away from having the most expensive version of Peacock.
You're in the middle tier. All right.
So I realized, I can watch the Super Bowl on Peacock because I don't have like bunny ears on my TV. Yeah. I don't have cable. So hopefully the bandwidth holds well for that.
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting you mentioned that because this year I'm actually going to we're going to have some of my family over. So I'm going to do bunny ears on one TV and an IP streaming service on the other because we have local commercials, right? I like to see how stupid those are around here in our market. So that's what the rabbit ears are for. And then the other one, just the IP streaming is really good because then you can literally not have to deal with commercials as much on it. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I think the other thing that could possibly, like we talked about, blow me out of the water is either a Flash trailer, which it's not in our notes because you theorized based on Twitter we were going to get one this week.
Yeah, Twitter every once in a while thinks I'm really into the DC universe, and it puts in my trending section, like the Flash is trending on like Tuesday. I was like, why is the Flash trending? So I clicked on it, and then all of these like insider Flash accounts, right? Some of them were even verified, and these accounts are hardcore into the Flash. Every way, Ezra Miller all over the place. I'm sure the CW show as well, we're all just like wink wink nod nod, Wednesday night here we go, blah blah blah, and it's just like then Wednesday night came and went, and I was like, well, nothing happened. So
if that trailer shows up as getting rated, I could see that being a Super Bowl leading into a Batman, you know, like one on there, one in front of the Batman. Then also Thor Love and Thunder would be a really good thing to actually bring, you know, Taika Waititi's humor and that fun stuff into the fold as well. Those are my movie hopes, I guess, if you will. I wouldn't say predictions, but like keeping my fingers crossed for that coming up here. And also I'm working on my menu. Gotta cue the menu up for the Super Bowl, right? Like it's not something you don't go buy it on Saturday or the Sunday morning because that's way too late for that.
Yeah, lots of dips. We were cleaning out the refrigerator today, and we kind of had this like rogue extra container of sour cream that was like, you know, quarter filled, coming up on an expiration date. We were just about to get rid of it, and I was like, wait a minute, Super Bowl's coming up. I'm sure we're going to be making some sort of dip or something that's going to need some sour cream, and that's going to be perfect avenue for this container here. So
that's right. There you go. That's
slowly getting ready. It's just so funny that like two guys can talk so much about the Super Bowl, and like we don't care really who plays in it. We're just talking about the commercials, the media.
Apparently, there's a sports game being played.
Well, I'm slightly more invested because there is a chance a Los Angeles-based football team could be in this Los Angeles-based Super Bowl this year, and we just
is it the Rams?
Yes, it's the Rams.
Okay.
And we just moved to our new place recently that has like a balcony that we've been told kind of faces areas sometimes where you can see fireworks, and Angelinos are infatuated with fireworks. They look for any reason to shoot them off. So I would assume that if a LA team won the Super Bowl in Los Angeles, the fireworks would be going crazy. So I guess rest in peace if you got an anxious dog out here, right, that doesn't like fireworks. But I know that game does not start until 3:00 today, so who knows who's going to win. I don't know.
So there's the AFC, and I believe the other one's the NFC, right? Is the one you're talking about, because the AFC is halftime right now, and that actually dropped one of our trailers we'll be talking about later in here.
Man,
I'm off the presses.
I'm so detached from football that like when I want to know what's going on in the world of football, I literally just go to Google and I search the word football, and usually they're nice enough to put up a little like widget at the top of this thing, and I can see like, oh, the Chiefs are beating the Bengals right now. It's halftime. The Rams play the 49ers here at 3:30 today. So.
There you go. So that brings me to something we've talked before the show, and during the show we're going to talk a lot about video games. One of my favorite video games from growing up is NFL Blitz, Mike. I absolutely adore that game. My wife's like, I don't know why you like this. You don't like football. But NFL Blitz isn't football. This is not Madden. This isn't a simulator. This is an arcade game. Like where if you get three good passes,
it's like a fighting game. Almost.
Yeah, like you're on fire, and you're literally on fire on the field doing this. You have late hits, and you can rush the person. Really, you're just trying to get the pass off as much as you can. And it was a good 4-player game, and NFL Blitz is one of my favorite games. And there's rumors, these I'm going to mark as heavily rumors, that the arcade 1-ups that I kind of have a few of, they'll be doing an NFL Blitz version very soon, and I hope they do, because I would love to. That would be a must-have. Like I'd buy that probably at retail. But NFL Blitz is great because I'm not actually, whatever two teams they are, I'm gonna go pick one of them and play that on my old '99 NFL Blitz, even though they're entirely different teams at this point. Still love doing that kind of stuff. Love that things. But I'm gonna jump into some other games from the era from 2001. I actually got an old Windows laptop gifted to me recently, and I was able to reinstall games from the early 2000s on it because they don't run on modern computers as well. Things have changed. But Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, are you familiar with this game, Mike? Have you heard of it?
I have a feeling if I saw a screenshot of it, it would be familiar, but no, I don't really know.
This is the first Star Wars game. It was built on the Age of Empires engine.
So it's one of those like civilization games.
It's an RTS game for Star Wars, it's right now it's like $2.09 on like Steam because they're doing a sale on Star Wars games. Normally it's like $6, but I was able to install it, and I've got some friends. We created our own little Discord group to play this together because this game was re-released I think in 2015 with the ability to play online on modern internet connections.
I'm looking at it right now. What is does it include just original trilogy kind of motifs, or does it have the prequels in there as well?
It's both. Actually, it's the prequels. It starts off with the prequels because the first one you're playing is with Wookiees because they're a class. Then you go to Gungans, and then you kind of work your way through. I think the first two movies, or the first movie, and then with Naboo and stuff like that. Then it goes into Hoth and Endor and stuff like that. In the back half of the game, and then they included in 2002 an expansion called the Clone Campaigns to add in the clones and more of the levels from the second movie, if you will. And then later on there was another game called Empire at War. But Galactic Battlegrounds, friends I play Fortnite with, actually we've all have fond memories of this game, which is now coming back. So I've actually installed it and have been playing a little bit with it. And this is of the era of games where like the backgrounds are way too busy. You don't know what to click on unless you mouse over it and then it glows. But there's actually a patch that someone has like gone through and released to make it actually fit on widescreen monitors because everything was a 4:3 ratio back then.
That's great.
But I'm not good at real-time strategy games. Like I'm not good at resource management. Put me in StarCraft, I'm done. I'm like I don't know what to do. So it's been fun to kind of go back and revisit this.
This is kind of like I went ahead and I was like, I've been scrolling through screenshots of this while you've been talking about it. And I'm getting like kind of double nostalgia, because nostalgia from like these civilization style games, and I haven't played one since I was like a kid, and then also kind of seeing the episode 1 things like with like the destroyer droids and everything like that. Like we were children when we first saw episode 1. We didn't know any better, but we just liked the way it looked.
It was more Star Wars,
and it looked fun, and like it's now nostalgia for us. So I just remember playing like one of those very early like movie based video game tie-ins for episode 1, right, where you're running around as like teenage Obi-Wan with your braids, trying to fight destroyer droids and stuff. And I wasn't competent enough with video games, so I was just stuck on this one level of like Naboo for like weeks. I don't even think I ever made it past it. But yeah, double nostalgia scrolling through this.
It's really fun because again, it's old. It's literally the same Age of Empires 1 and 2 engine. They just created a new game based on that engine, so it's all isometrical. It reminds me more of the original Warcraft games. I don't know if you ever played the original Warcraft games, not World of Warcraft. And you've got the Flag of War, stuff like that. So it's been a really good time to kind of dive back into the campaign. I will say laptops weren't really around back then for this, so playing with the touchpad sucked. So I had to go dig out like my Goodwill mouse to plug it in so I could actually like control the screen a little bit more. But it's been a really good time, and a lot of these games are on Steam if you've got a PC that plays it. They can run pretty basic games. It can play it, so I'd recommend it for people who are interested in that. But on the flip side, a brand new game came out Friday, the new Pokemon game, Mike. It is the mainline series called Pokemon Legends Arceus. And have you seen this at all? Are you familiar with this one?
First of all, my first question is, have you been playing this game?
Yes.
Because I have questions. I actually have a lot of questions, because I remember when this game was announced and I saw early footage of it, like everyone was freaking out because they're like, this is the Pokemon game that we've been waiting for. It's the open world game where you can run up and find the Pokemon, you can like throw the Pokeball, then you can also fight them and everything. But the more and more I kept looking at it, I was like, this feels like this is not it, right? This almost feels like this is a totally different style of game. It's not as quote unquote bad or as different as like Pokemon Snap is, where that's just a totally different game. this seems like it's falling short of what expectations were in my brain.
Well, so I think the difference between this is actually very different. So you are in the historical Pokemon regions, like this is in the past, like way past, and you are tasked with creating the first Pokédex. And if you've played the other ones, you go out and catch a Pokemon and it adds it to your Pokédex, right? Because they already have the info. Well, they don't have any info on the Pokemon in this region, so you're actually given like a task list for like catch like 10 of these, catch 15, and watch them do a certain move so many times. Like there's actually a checklist to do more with the Pokemon than anything
That
else.
makes a little bit more sense, because I was watching a video. I was like, why is this person catching 15 Chanseys?
Yeah.
Like, this makes no sense. Why do you don't need that many Chanseys, trust me.
Yeah. So it actually it actually works for me. I like it better because you like to study one, you actually have to do more with that Pokemon breed rather than just catch one and move on with your day. Now, mind you, it is still it's supposed to be open world, but it's still kind of linear in how it opens up areas to you as you kind of move along through the story. And I think the biggest thing that people would, I would say, complain about is that, it's a Nintendo Switch. The graphics really aren't there like what people want it to be, if you will. Like you can look at, like, it's kind of bare compared to like Breath of the Wild kind of game, which it doesn't deal with Pokemon and like the number of, I don't know if the number of things in them are different or if it's just the different studios making them, but it's not as full. But I think it's a stepping stone into the next iteration, like the next Pokemon generation. Like, hey, we're gonna try these mechanics here, improve upon them for the big version. Because there's actually not even two versions of this game. There's not two Legends. There's literally just one game. Like, and you don't have to trade with people to evolve anymore in this one, because it's so in the past. So I understand why people would be like, this isn't what I wanted. However, it is still way different than like, hey, you've got to go take down the evil Team Rocket. And everything's known for you already.
Yeah, and I'm not one that should be talking anyway, because I haven't earnestly played a Pokemon game in probably 2 decades. But to me, it seems like what the desire out there in the world is people want to play kind of their standard style of Pokemon game that, the kind of the formula that's been proven that everyone's addicted to, but they just want a studio to just max out the experience on every end, right? We want like 3 dimensions, we want an open world, we want the best graphics that whatever entertainment system is being made for can provide. We want good online, we want every single Pokemon in it, which even at this point in time I feel like would be a stretch, just because it seems like the team would have to be so huge, because you have so many creatures now you have to model and animate. So I realize that there could be a limit there, but like it seems like the community wants the game, but they just really want it to be firing off on all cylinders. And I think that makes sense, Chris. This seems like this is kind of like the stepping stone to get there.
And while I think I understand their desire, I think the Switch is not, it's not the graphical powerhouse or even processing powerhouse the new consoles are, right? Like it is, but it's not trying to compete with them. It's still got charm, it's got its own place in the world. So well, I agree with everyone else. I understand. Like, I'm very tepid in my expectations for what's going to come out of a handheld-based video game for sure. So, I've been enjoying it. I think it's been a fun little romp this weekend, a little getaway. I look forward to playing more and giving you more of a rundown next week. And then the other thing, because I'm a glutton for punishment, I was able to pick up a 4-player Simpsons arcade machine. When I was telling you a little bit about this, it actually also comes with a little unknown game called The Simpsons Bowling, which you said you weren't as familiar with whenever I mentioned this. So if anyone remembers the Simpsons game, you play as all 4 characters. I think we even talked about this, right? Like, Marge has the vacuum cleaner and Bart has his skateboard and everyone, there's like jump and attack, and that's it. It's the most basic side-scrolling game in the world, and it's been I have very fond memories playing it and dumping hundreds of quarters in this game growing up. And the bowling is definitely the fun part, because it's got a trackball in the middle, and it's like just like literally you scroll the ball to do the bowling, and you can play as a lot of the characters from The Simpsons. I did see someone on Etsy is selling little light up tokens with all the characters' faces on them, and you can put them on your arcade thing, and you push the button and it triggers the coin for that character, rather than just like a circular start button, if you will. Like, it actually looks pretty cool. So I'm like, oh, I might mod me out some of these Simpsons cabinets, Mike. It'd be really fun to do that. Did you ever play The Simpsons?
I mean, I've played just kind of smatterings, I feel like, right? You know, the games back on the Super Nintendo, right, were always great. I remember people really being into, I feel like the last Simpsons game that I really heard people ever really earnestly talk about was the driving one.
Hit and Run.
What was that? Hit and Run, yeah. I feel like that was the last one where people were like, oh, the Simpsons are being kind of relevant in the video game space.
And people have been trying, I think someone was trying to rebuild that in like an Unreal Engine recently until it got shut down. But like, you know, that's essentially Crazy Taxi with the Simpsons. And it kind of fits in that world of Springfield that they've created. And I'm really interested, you know, again, interested that why they haven't come back into, you know, modern video games. I don't know, maybe they're tired of that or what. But
I think the brand has been really prevalent in the mobile space. I feel like there's been a lot of kind of premium mobile Simpsons games. You know, obviously microtransactions. I haven't played any of them. But,
I know South Park had two console games and has another one coming out. And I was like, you know, I'm really surprised the Simpsons haven't re-jumped back on that in their 30 years of history just to do something. But you know, in an era of remasters and remakes, I would not be surprised if a Hit and Run 2022 is in the works for them somewhere down the road. So that's my games to start off with. So let's jump into the news, Mike. Let's not get too far here, because if anyone is interested in reading movie scripts, I definitely am. The Spider-Man No Way Home official script has been released online. And if people don't know, scripts you read online are not one for one with things that happen in the movie. These are just what the director kind of goes off of, and then things happen in edits or filming that, you know, they kind of maybe riff a little bit different and come off. And this is adds a little more context to a lot of the stuff going on here. And one of the cool parts about the script, spoiler alert for Spider-Man No Way Home, the end he gets a new suit, right? It's blue and red, and he says that he is inspired to make a new suit based on the ones he's seen before, implying that Peter from Original Spider-Man and Peter from Amazing Spider-Man have inspired him to make his new suit, and that's why his red and blue suit is that at the end of the movie.
I like that. I like that thoughtfulness. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I wish they would have actually said that a little bit more.
Well, it's funny when you first brought that up. So I've been going back, and I have to wait a while for the anime Attack on Titan to be dubbed. So I've been kind of catching up on some episodes, and like I just so rarely dip into anime now that I forget how much just narration there is, or internal dialogue of what characters are thinking, because that's really what gets like half of the plot across to the audience, right? Is just we externalize what they're thinking in their heads. And it always makes me think of like the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, right? Because they did that a lot as well. So it just makes me think if they could have employed the same thing in the movie, and it would have drove me crazy, right? You know, Tom Holland thinking to himself, wow, this suit's really great. It really makes me think of the other Spider-Man that I met earlier in my adventure this year.
Well, I would have thought, like, you know, knowing how this Tom Holland Spider-Man is, he would have tried to like take a selfie with all of them. In their spider suits. Or like Ned took a photo and he's got like that, you know, even though nobody remembers him, he's got that hung in his apartment kind of thing.
Like maybe like a Polaroid on like a bulletin board or something.
Yeah, like that would have been the way I think they could have done it without being like you said, like without being like you know, doing the over
well, who knows, we could get the explanation in the next Spider-Man movie, right? Because we're probably going to be picking up where Peter left off, where, you know, we're going to be kind of seeing him on his own in his own apartment, you know, dealing with probably like landlords or, you know, paying rent or something like that. And I'm sure we'll get to see the space he lives in a little bit more, like his you know, 1-bedroom studio or whatever.
What?
And we'll, you know, maybe we will get to see kind of like a billboard, like a bulletin board that has a photo.
And he obviously has learned to make his own suit in this time as well with his little sewing machine. So I feel like this almost ends like kind of where the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire is, like, right? Like you got the Russian guy yelling for rent down the hall.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll bring him back, right? You know, if Jay Jonah is in both the universes.
That would have been perfect to end that movie with him yelling rent like down the hall. Like that would have been a fun little cameo for that. But yeah, so that whole script is online. You can take a look at it, take a read through it. Again, one of the things that a lot of people may not know: 1 page in the script equals 60 seconds of screen time. That's how they kind of time out movies here. So you can see literally what Chris McKenna and Eric Summers wrote for this movie and what they kind of had to film with. I'm pretty excited for that, Mike. I've gone through a little bit of it here and there, spot checked it. It's been kind of fun to dive into scripts again. From since I did that in college. But the other thing is here, another concept art was released showing that early on, Mysterio would have been in this movie through a concept art here, fighting Doctor Strange. So would this have been literally an original kind of Sinister Six here, right? Was that their plan to begin with?
It seems like it probably would have been a multiversal Mysterio, right? Because as we learned in the second Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, Mysterio didn't really have any powers, right? He was just strictly doing illusions, and Jake Gyllenhaal was really just kind of chilling in a corner, watching somebody from his perspective just flail around like there's bees flying around them, right?
Yeah.
That's what it would have looked like to Jake Gyllenhaal. So in this concept art, we kind of see a Mysterio floating around the Statue of Liberty that's kind of glitching out.
Yeah.
He's kind of got green powers coming around her hands, and I feel like somebody like Doctor Strange would not fall for projections from a drone, right?
Yeah,
he would be able to suss that kind of stuff out.
Yeah, exactly. Or possibly if there's too many drones. But yeah, it looks like his hands are glowing magically. Like this could have been a Mysterio literally from another dimension. Possibly even a Sorcerer Supreme Mysterio, right, from another Spider-Man dimension. But it looks like possibly early on they were hinting at. There were always rumors that Jake Gyllenhaal or Mysterio would reappear in this movie, and it looks like possibly from the concept art, that initial idea was not that far off from this. So I'm happy with the movie we got. Really happy. That movie is set pretty good with me the past month, right?
It'll be nice to watch it again. I have not revisited a lot of the new Spider-Man movies because the streaming hasn't been super easy. Like they've been on Showtime or something. I don't remember what streaming service it was, but now that they're all supposed to be coming out on Netflix, I'll be able to casually watch them.
Well, hopefully they do sooner than later because there's really been no announcements for that. Lately at all.
We need a follow-up. We need a Hollywood Reporter to get out there and let us know.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to pull up here. It looks like Stars, FX Now.
Stars, that's what it was. Yeah.
Stars has them currently. Also, for your notes, Mike, pretty good version, a telesync is on ChrisFlix for you to watch. So if you want to go pick any scenes out of this one because it's fun to compare the script versus the movie.
So this is interesting. I just kind of scrolled through the script here really quick. They name the Spider-Mans based off of the director's universe. So it's called Webverse Spider-Man, WBB for Mark Webb. So that would have been Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Yeah. So it's funny, that's how it was written in the script. I have a feeling though, just to possibly maybe avoid leaks, I wonder if maybe this was a find and replace, at the end of the publishing, right? I wonder if it was just Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, just to keep it as vague as possible in case something did leak.
Yeah, honestly, I expect there to be 10 versions of the script out there with different scenes that were completely fabricated, just to mess with people who did leak them, or they only gave you 10 pages and you never saw what the other ones were. But yeah, I'm very interested to see what they do going forward with some of this stuff because it would be really, really cool to see if they can do anything with these characters again. Now, again, people are like, "Oh, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was the best movie ever," and I've been saying that for years. You're wrong. You are absolutely wrong, and I will tell you that to your face. I'm blue in the face because I've never been in other. Spider-Man 3 didn't disappoint me nearly as much as Amazing Spider-Man 2 did when I saw it. So don't pretend you've been out there crying about that movie for 7-8 years now because you weren't. Nobody was. 7 years ago. Your nostalgia for seeing these characters again may give you some revisionist history on those, but no, that is not how that movie was or ever will be. So
Andrew Garfield is charming. The movie he was in is not charming.
Yeah, not at all. It's literally set up for the next movie the entire way through. So yeah, anyway, I don't want to get on that. Guardians of the Galaxy is the third one is currently filming, and James Gunn, he's out in the news. He's doing his thing with this Peacemaker show. Very active online. Says that Volume 3 will have different music because these aren't songs given to him by his mother. They were songs given to him on a Zune by Yondu/Kraglin.
Yes,
so we're not.
I wouldn't.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I wouldn't be surprised though if it kind of sticks with like a similar vein, right? Because we're gonna be talking about Peacemaker here at the end of the episode, so stay tuned if you want to hear us catch up on the first 5 episodes of Peacemaker. But if you're watching those, you can very much just see James Gunn loves putting in music that he loves into his stuff, right? And in this most recent episode, no spoilers really at all, but there are characters talking about like niche like music, right? And stuff that I've never heard before. And you can tell like, oh, this is just like James Gunn's like favorite band, and he was just looking for an opportunity to finally put it in something that he's writing. So yeah, there'll be moments where probably there'll be something really funny that happens, and maybe we'll get like a Backstreet Boys song, and then maybe Drax really likes the Backstreet Boys song and starts dancing, but then like maybe Peter Quill like hates it and like skips the song or something. But I think probably classic rock or kind of like weird rock.
Yeah, I think it'll be rock all around, but I think there's an opportunity here for like everything in the first two was like what pre-87, like pre even 1985. So this is an opportunity to use music up through to I guess not today. I guess that movie ended in 2014.
Or just the Zune in general kind of timed out like kind of what like late 2000 late 2000s, like 2008 2009 or something maybe.
And the other thing is he technically ends up on Earth, right, in game before he goes away, so he could be able to get more music, but like it's just gonna James Gunn isn't stuck with songs pre-1985 anymore. He will have them, but there will be new stuff in there, I guarantee it. So
I would love to see Peter Quill with like a really old like netbook or something like that, and he's like trying to sync the Zune to it, and he's just being really frustrated because he can't transfer over the music that he likes, and like his like I would love his library to be out of order, right? Like there's just a ton of like untitled tracks because that's how it was back in the day. There wasn't like really nice software that could like use artificial intelligence to like rename your tracks for you and stuff. So you would just have all of these. Exactly. That would really hit me where it hurts.
I imagine he's going to be like, how do I get these 8 tracks or cassettes onto this thing? And Rocket's going to have to make a machine that does it for him. Like,
oh, that would be really funny. Like, oh, we got to go get some like plutonium or some sort of weird galaxy like battery so we can just run this little like netbook so we can connect your Zune and get it synced.
Your cassette to your computer to your Zune.
I don't have the right software update, so it's not working. I can't skip.
Yeah. So this is definitely. I'm interested to see what the music. Again, James Gunn, great for implementing music into his movies. I'm excited to see where it goes from there. The other thing he said is that this movie will be the last time we'll see this team. Now, this can be interpreted several ways. I don't think everyone's gonna die. Someone will probably die. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if there's different Guardians of the Galaxies going forward. Maybe more members, or they split up and do different things by the end of the film easily.
I actually, when I heard this news, I never really assumed it was pointing to maybe at the death of anybody. I was kind of just assuming like, oh, some of these characters are just kind of meeting the end of their arcs, right? And maybe they'll want to move on, do something else. And also, if you just think about it just in general, right? The Avengers have not stayed the same group, right? So why should we assume the Guardians will as well? And it's just like more fun for audiences, right? Mix it up, change up the group a little bit. So yeah, this isn't surprising at all to me.
And literally, I think again the difference is we have a new Gamora, right? Because of that the time travel thing, where she was killed and they brought the 2014 version for it, but also literally 2014 was the last time we saw that team in James Gunn's movie verse, and now it's 10-11 years later. They've probably picked up some people along the way, some friends or enemies even, so I'm excited to see if maybe I don't think we'll get Nova, but maybe some more powered people out in space with like a little different abilities than what we've normally had, or even remember at the end of the second when they teased the other Ravagers getting together with Sylvester Stallone and that team. Maybe some of them are now part of the Guardians, and they have like Group A and Group B kind of thing. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that. There's a lot of opportunities here, but if they have to kill somebody off, I wouldn't be surprised. Someone makes an ultimate sacrifice kind of thing, like literally, like not just to do it, but but who knows? I don't know where this is going, and they're being very vague on the movie, and that's great. I like being surprised when we jump in. They're also filming Secret Invasion currently out in public, which is interesting for Marvel. We get some behind the scenes stuff, and some of the photos I've not included them here. They're not very revealing, but Cobie Smulders will be returning as Maria Hill yet again. This is 10 years now, because her first appearance was in the first Avengers movie. In this, as again Maria Hill, and this will be her first time appearing alongside Ben Mendelsohn, who played Talos. Was it Talos? No.
Yeah, Talos. Yeah.
Is it Talos? Okay. The Skrull from Captain Marvel, because that was set as a prequel to everything else in the 90s, right? So this is the first time we'll see her alongside him, I believe in person, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, at the end of Endgame, Far From Home, we find out that the Skrulls are impersonating her and Nick Fury, but they never were sharing screen at the same time. They just morphed into them. So, and
they weren't necessarily being antagonistic; they were being helpful.
Right.
I never really made this connection in my head before, but it is very obvious. Secret Invasion, is this the first kind of storyline that has been confirmed for Disney Plus that's not just based on characters, right? Usually like we've had people announced for Disney Plus, like She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, specific characters, but this is kind of our first storyline announced for Disney Plus, and it makes me wonder how required it'll be to watch it, right? I would probably recommend maybe some people skip Falcon and the Winter Soldier just because I personally didn't like it. Maybe just watch the last episode just so you can kind of see him put the suit on and like kick some butt with the wings, right? That might be kind of fun. But it seems like Disney Plus has been almost extracurricular watching, right? Secret Invasion was very influential to the comic book storyline. There was lots of ramifications with it, and I'm sure they'll go in a different direction, but I feel like this series should have some impact, right? So it does make me wonder how much this will kind of need to disseminate into the films.
So I think I don't think we see it now because, again, I always say that all the movies were pushed back a year. I think WandaVision will tie into Doctor Strange more than we think. Loki will tie into at least Ant-Man more than we think. But yes, you're right. This is the first one that's not like, it's not the Nick Fury show, right? It's not the Maria Hill show. It is literally a event, if you will.
Event. The word was right out.
An event,
just like an event comic book.
Exactly. So it's an event, like a 6 series event. Now, I also don't think you get Samuel L. Jackson cheap for shows, right? Like
that's true.
He is probably before all this stuff came out, one of the biggest name actors who joined the MCU. He was literally in the very first Iron Man movie at the end. So he will be the longest served actor in here as well. So I think, yes, this will be, they're not going light on this show at all. So I agree. I think this will be something that you have to watch and will actually have some ramifications. Now, again, Emilia Clarke is in this, known for her roles in Game of Thrones and that Terminator 6 or whatever that nobody watched. So I think
she was also in that really good Christmas movie with I forgot his name, but he was in Crazy Sexy Asians. What was that movie called? Something?
Crazy Rich Asians? Crazy Sexy Asians. Okay.
I mean, they all are crazy sexy in that movie, right?
The sequel.
But she was in that Christmas movie. That was pretty good. So she has done something that I have enjoyed outside of Game of Thrones.
And I'm blanking on some of the other stuff she's done too. But she's also not a minor actress, right? Like, it's not a new name they're hiring for this. And then the guy, I don't know the actor's name, but he's in Happy Gilmore where he says, "I eat pieces of shit for breakfast." Like that guy is in this as a main role as well. So I'm very excited for Secret Invasion. I think if that, it doesn't look like it's coming out this year, but if it did, it would be on one of my top lists. But I think it's next year, so Moon Knight stays at the top of that list. But I'm very excited for this event, like you said. I think it'll I think it'll set some seeds going forward because it'll make us question who and who is not an evil Skrull, if you will, going forward, or possibly an evil. What are the other?
What's I'll just hint at the news. We won't have to talk about it. But what's the over under that's Evangeline Lilly? And Letitia Wright, right?
yeah. This is a real easy way to get rid of some of your actors / actresses if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
So we got some stuff there. Shifting gears, wink, wink, into some Fast and Furious news. The 10th movie is, I believe, the last one they said, right, in this iteration.
Yeah, I think it's being teased as like the end of it, but this franchise, I feel like, is never truly going to end for as much money as it makes.
It prints money. Like, why would you stop? Like, literally, I can see more spin-offs. They have an animated show on Netflix, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I want to say it's Fast and Furious Ridge Racers, but Ridge Racer is a video game. But whatever it's called. So the current news is that Jason Momoa is in talks or has signed on to star in this film, presumably as the villain, because if you're new to the franchise, you're the villain. If you're not new, you're family. So
yeah, or he could be a bit of a replacement just because I don't even know why I even keep up with this drama. Maybe I'm just on social media too much, but I do know that Dwayne The Rock Johnson, or I think maybe he's just Dwayne Johnson now. I think he's maybe even dropped The Rock.
I'm just going to say The Rock because that's what I always know him as. He's got the people's elbow.
But I know he's been feuding with what's his name?
Vin Diesel? Man, you are
Vin Diesel, right?
Are you okay? You talk about it?
The funny thing is I could picture his bald head just perfectly. Yeah. Right? Too many bald guys in a movie, right? That's why Jason Momoa is in this film, right? Because he's bringing the hair.
Well, but he's also as big as The Rock, pretty much.
Yes, exactly. Bigger. Like how many? You don't have very many big, famous, muscly people to pick from that are very marketable. But they've been feuding online. Like Dwayne Johnson has already said, "I'm not coming back. I'm never working with this guy again."
Yeah.
I don't think that totally rules out Hobbs and Shaw necessarily, but I suppose that rules out Hobbs and Shaw really crossing over super directly. But
this is Hobbs' brother. The other Hobbs, probably.
But let's be totally clear. The only reason we're even talking about this right now is because Jason Momoa is also Aquaman, and this is a very light news week. Yeah. So just before we started recording, I was like, hey, wasn't that news this week?
So what I'm going to say is the only reason it's in here is because one time Mike saw him at a Comic-Con, and he turned around to Mike and said, my man.
He pointed right at me.
That is his MO, and Mike, that's his claim to fame, and we're gonna give him this.
I'm never not gonna bring it up. It was great.
Yeah, so it's totally fine. I get it. I've not watched Fast 9. I've watched all of them through 8. I've not watched Hobbs and Shaw or 9, but I might set that up some point so I can see this because. Again, John Cena doing great in Peacemaker, right? I would love to see what he did in this in Fast 9. I don't know his character's fate. That was the 8th movie, Fate of the Furious. So if he's going to be around in Fast 10, he'll probably be family.
It goes to show you how forgettable these movies are for me. I don't even remember what happens to John Cena in that movie. Maybe.
Yeah. Don't tell me. Don't say it out loud. Think about it. But yeah. Anyway, the humor and action in Peacemaker is enough to make me go back and watch that movie with him. It's not that I'm not putting off. You got to sit down for like 2.5 hours to watch them. So they print money. I don't know why they would stop at 10. I figured they'd try to go for a James Bond record or something like that. But anyway, moving on. Surprise, surprise. The biggest surprising news this week, Mike. Mortal Kombat is getting that sequel we didn't think it was going to get. Now, we did review the first one. It came out to HBO Max and theaters, I believe, the same day in March or April of last year? No, was it May? It was after Godzilla. And as we said, very much so, there was no tournament in this goddamn movie. There was no Mortal Kombat. And it's very hard to keep up with the characters, and the evil Shang Tsung was just walking around in a desert in another world. It was very, very messy of a film. There were some pretty good fight scenes, and I believe the Australian guy, he had to be taken to the hospital for back problems because he carried that whole movie. That's just a joke, but
Kano, was that?
Yeah,
his
Kano.
name?
Yeah. He carried that whole movie up until his he was killed.
The film wasn't particularly well received. You'll never ever be able to determine its box office success because it came out during a pandemic, and it's always going to have that asterisk. And plus, it was like direct to streaming at the same time.
Yeah.
So all I can assume was that there was enough people during the pandemic desperate to watch something new. So they had enough eyeballs on it, and there was just enough heat behind it to like greenlight a sequel. It really makes me wonder, in an alternate reality, if this movie was to come to theaters normally, right? Would we even be hearing news of a sequel?
So,
like, did they just get lucky that they were able to put this in front of desperate eyeballs?
So, you want to know my thought on this? Want to know why I think it got greenlit?
Why is that, Chris?
It sold enough copies of the video game rather than actual. No, I'm serious. I literally think people saw this and were like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot about the Mortal Kombat games." 11 had just released its final character pack in its Ultimate Edition, which I bought, that the month of to play, and it pushed enough copies of the game that, like, you know what? We're seeing, again, omni-channel presence here, like, right? Video games, movies tying together because this is a movie based on a video game franchise. That literally, I think enough copies of the game sold because of this. They're like, let's put another one in because Mortal Kombat 12 is rumored to come out around the same time the sequel is.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know what? Whether that is or isn't the truth, I don't think you're totally off base for that being a strategy in the future for video games, because I had kind of the same theory when I was talking about League of Legends Arcane, the show on Netflix. I would not be surprised if that show is made at cost or even at a loss for League of Legends, just because it is the most beautiful commercial, 8-episode commercial ever made for your franchise, whether or not it even talks about it being a video game. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe just kind of like who owns Mortal Kombat? Just the
Warner
IP
Brothers.
Is that Warner Brothers?
Yeah, Warner Brothers owns both of them. Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just kind of looking at the vertical stack of the IP, right? Like, okay, well, it's okay if the movie takes a little bit of a loss because we sold a little bit more games. Let's keep this in somebody's. I mean, and also like,
well, I say net sales through the roof here. Like,
yeah. And I mean, we're going to be talking a little bit more here about a video game live action property, but I came across this extremely depressing paragraph that somebody shared from, like, I think it was like the Hollywood Reporter or Deadline on Twitter just last night, of other things that are going to be adapted into movies. And it was Barbie, The Magic 8 Ball, Hungry Hungry Hippos. There was another ridiculous thing that's going to be turned into a movie.
It's funny you mentioned the Barbie thing, because I saw actually a screenshot of it today, supposedly, like from a leak, and it actually looks better, like on par with Frozen. And the whole point of the movie is Barbie has to go to space because of like the heat death of the universe. So it's actually like not just like Barbie's getting a dream house kind of thing. It's actually like a science fiction movie. I'm like, if this is real, I believe this is awesome. But if not,
whether that's real or not, but it does kind of make me wonder, right? Is the toy company just thinking like, oh, we don't care if the movie bombs. We just need people to remember the Magic 8 Ball exists, so people keep buying it. Like we invented this thing in like the 50s, right? Yeah. Everyone who started buying it when they were a kid, they're all dying. We need to remind people that that Hungry Hungry Hippos is still a thing. And
I can't wait for the Hasbro universe or whatever. What's the company that makes Monopoly?
Is it Hasbro?
Something Parker? No, it's like something Parker. It's like two names.
It's Parker Brothers? Is that what
Parker?
it is?
Yeah, the Parker Brothers universe, right? Where the Monopoly guy teams up with the Slinky, who teams up with the Sorry board.
I feel like I need to bring this up now that I've been talking about it. The fact that something from the Hungry Hungry Hippos, no, it was Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Maybe Hungry Hungry Hippos wasn't, is it? But the reason I thought about it is the wife and I caught the first episode of After Party, which is the new Chris Miller show on Apple Plus. The first episode was, all right. There's a couple episodes available here at the premiere. I think there's 3 total.
Three, yep.
Yeah, we haven't watched any of the other ones, so who knows? Maybe it gets its claws into you on episode 2. But there was one of those things where like one of the characters in the show is famous, and they were in a movie, so you get a very brief look at a fake Hungry Hungry Hippos movie.
Oh,
and
really?
I was like, and you laugh at it because it's a hilarious farce, but then I read a paragraph later in that day about Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and I think Chris, his name, it's gone again. Fast and Furious bald man. I think he's supposed to be. I think he's supposed to be in the Rock'em Sock'em movie. Oh my God, Chris! All right, next thing. I don't want to talk about that anymore.
We haven't even got to the point. Mortal Kombat is being written by Jeremy Slater, who just wrote Moon Knight. So they're not keeping the same guy who wrote the first one, which gives me hope that Jeremy Slater, again, writing for Marvel, that's not a small feat to do. Moon Knight looks pretty awesome so far in the trailers. We don't have
I believe he was. But... I believe he was also the showrunner for. I would say more importantly, Umbrella Academy, which is very proven, very good, very awesome. So
he was a screenwriter for it. I think he was showrunner.
Well, he's listed as a creator. Was he actually the comic book?
No, that's
writer for the Umbrella Academy.
I have him as a developer for it, yes, but not the showrunner. Yes, he developed it. And was a writer with everything, and was an executive producer.
Either way, I think what we're gonna hear is better pedigree, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he actually wrote the original Fantastic Four script that included Galactus, Mole Man, Doctor Doom. Before I think Josh Trank went and tranked it up. So like that's. He's got a really good pedigree, and people are starting to trust him more. But like, if he does Mortal Kombat and they actually do a goddamn tournament, like, count me in. Like, if there's no tournament, I'm out, Mike. I've got to have my tournament. Yeah, I'm excited for Mortal Kombat. I like the games. It's kind of a mindless. Like, I'm not like, this isn't something I'm gonna actually like. I don't know if it's coming to theaters or streaming. I wouldn't be surprised if they did both with this one because they own it. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not looking to be like, it's not going to change my life. No matter how good of a Mortal Kombat movie you make, it's still Mortal Kombat.
You know what changes your life, Chris? It's Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie starring Vin Diesel, produced by Mattel Films and Universal.
So the weird part about that is, to switch gears out of this, is that they announced a Real Steel TV series based on that Hugh Jackman movies.
I was just about to bring up. I was like, if this movie was probably going to be like Real Steel, which nobody cared about, but they're making a TV. Chris, what is wrong with Hollywood? What is happening?
It's at Disney Plus. That's the crazy part. The Real Steel is at Disney Plus.
What? Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's Sean Levy doing it.
Real Steel
he's pulling it up right here.
Film series. Oh my God. What was this, a Fox movie? Is that why Disney Plus is in the business of Real Steel?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean I think Fox owned Hugh Jackman forever. Right? But I mean it's interesting, like I pull up Sean Levy did Night at the Museum, Cheaper by the Dozen, Free Guy, and Stranger Things. Like,
well, he's like a super producer. So
and
he knows how to get IP off the ground, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, if you look at his directing, he started off in some really weird shit. Like,
Real Steel 2 is announced. Is this a different project? What is this Real Steel universe, Chris? What is happening?
I don't know. But you know what we need? We need a video game based on Real Steel, right? Like, wouldn't that be? I mean, I love. What was that show?
Isn't that just Armored Core?
Well, it could be. Well, this is more boxing with robots. But like, what was that robot show on MTV they had where the robots fight each other?
But they weren't anthropomorphic though.
They were like
Roombas like flying into each other. Real Steel is streaming on HBO Max right now.
Yeah.
If anybody needed to know, this seems like the perfect movie for me to put on when I'm working out. So maybe by this time next week, I will have watched Real Steel.
There we go.
I'm gonna go ahead and add it to my list since Just Watch gives me a nice little convenient link here.
There you go.
Oh my God!
All
Chris.
right,
what's the next topic here?
So this is the hottest trailer. Like, you guys may be listening to this on Monday, but this just came out literally when we started recording the show. Like, we'd already laid down our bass track, and I was like, "Oh shit, Mike! The Halo TV series trailer dropped." It's halftime during the AFC series. They put the trailer out. We both watched it almost live, and this series is set in what they call the silver timeline, meaning it is not a 1-for-1 with the games because they have to make adjustments, so like the games don't line up with this.
What do you mean silver time? Are they trying to say that this is like almost like a different?
It's a parallel universe.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, I wasn't necessarily expecting them to follow the game the game storyline, because I feel like the game has done a somewhat okay job of disseminating that information.
So there are changes. There's different things here. Especially when I heard this, one of the biggest things during this trailer, they mentioned like, we can control the Master Chief. I'm like, well, they don't do that in the games. So like, that's interesting to hear. But what I've always been concerned about with the Halo series is, what do the aliens look like? Will they show elites and grunts and like, you know, that's where your money has to go into making the aliens look believable in this. Because the Spartan stuff, you have cosplayers who can do this all day. As the,
yeah,
the
exactly.
Spartans. But the aliens are the hard part, and they actually showed some elites. They showed some swords. I'm not like over the moon with it. I love Halo. I'm not over the moon with this trailer yet because I want to know how good it's actually going to be. But it is very much aesthetically Halo through and through, this whole trailer. The battle rifle, assault rifle, everything.
Yeah, I think what I've gotten the most out of this trailer is maybe the direction of where the story would go. I mean, you're the Halo scholar, right? You're the one that knows all of the ins and outs. You're like the master of the wiki pages.
I'm the Master Chief here.
for Halo. But to me, seems like they're going to kind of maybe lean into a direction that kind of they're doing in like season 2 of The Witcher. Like we're slowly working our way through that, where like these boys were taken at a young age, almost like against their will, to turn into like this kind of fighting machine. And that kind of seems like what they're hinting at, of like Master Chief is trying to like find what his like origin is. And that is
actually the books. That is actually how they happen in the Halo universe as a whole. But what you don't know is there's 150 Spartans that kids that they stole at a young age to turn into Spartans. And you only see when you play the games, like what, 1 or 2, like yourself, Master Chief, and later on they had a couple more. But like there seems to be, he has like maybe a squad in this one. Did you notice like a couple other with him?
I mean, if they've been watching Mando, just even the first season, it does not hurt to put as many people in badass helmets and sci-fi weaponry. That's a good look right now for a streaming service. We did get a new look, the first look at Cortana, right?
Yeah.
She seems to be more
human,
organic in like appearance, not so much just like a hologram. So that was a little jarring. But also, if I remember correctly, as the games have progressed over the years, hasn't Cortana kind of gotten more polygons like along the way, you know?
Yeah. I mean, polygons in 2001, they had like 3, right? And so like later on, she becomes more human, but she's still always very purpley or bluey and has like, you know, like the Matrix, like you can see the data kind of flowing through her. Like, so this one looks to be like I hate to say like a miniature person, like in a hologram kind of.
Yeah, it almost kind of seems like a Star Wars-esque like projection, but like in like 4K, whereas like maybe the Star Wars universe shows them in like 480 or something.
Yeah, and while all the characters, the Master Chief is Pablo Schreiber, and that's his voice, not the actual guy who does Steve Downs, who does the voice of the games. That's actually Pablo Schreiber's voice. The Cortana is actually the voice actress who played Cortana in the games. So
great. Yeah, I think I remember we talked about that before.
Yeah,
but obviously I'm not internalizing a lot of Halo information.
Well, it's just funny because I hear that voice from, you know, with Infinite coming out. Like I know the voice like the back of my hand from playing.
I think I'm still trying to get over like, I don't want to say uncanny valley because that's not the right term, but it's in kind of that same kind of category where like I still feel like I'm just looking at really, really good cosplay in front of a very expensive camera crew, right? Yeah. And it's just because like the look and the feel and the characters and the vibe of Halo have just been out there and have existed for so long, right? Yeah. So it's really cool to kind of see some of the choreography that Master Chief has like with the weapons, right? Like he has one shot where he's kind of picking it up and flipping it around. It looks really badass, but it still looks like a gun modeled on for an original Xbox, right? Like I almost feel like they should put some like more like just slap some more shit on the gun. Like I know it doesn't make any sense, but I don't know, add some more doodads, some more texture, because it just kind of looks like you picked up like a Nerf gun and painted it from like Walmart. And I'm not saying like a lot of love didn't go into making that prop look exactly like the video game, but the video game looks old to me in my head, so I'm still trying to square it in my head. But I think this trailer was a positive experience overall for me.
I feel the money put into it, right? Like nothing felt cheap. Because sometimes you can get that, like you're like, oh, they're doing close-ups, or they're pushing in so they don't have to build the whole scene. But there's a scene where he actually takes on 2 elites, like, and he's fighting them, and like he punches one, and the other one's like sword hits his back, and you can see the shield shimmer off his back a little bit. I feel the money put into this, and I really hope the story and everything kind of pays off for it.
Yeah, I'm also kind of curious what's the kind of demographics for this show too. Like the Halo fan base, Halo fan base is huge, but sometimes I think like, would I ever get my parents to watch this show? Could I ever get my wife to like this show? Yeah. You know, like I feel like it's a little bit easier with like Mando and Star Wars, right? Especially when you throw a little Baby Yoda in there, right? Everything gets a little bit easier to stomach with a Baby Yoda in the. But like I can't imagine my wife watching this. I'm not saying that's a deal breaker, but when you're talking about a show that's supposed to drive subscriptions on Paramount Plus, hopefully if they can get every person that has ever played Halo to subscribe to Paramount Plus, they'll be golden, right?
Well, I think there's a renewed interest in Halo because of the new games and their championship series they're doing, their esports stuff. A lot of people have been playing it. A lot of people have done it. I think the whole thing with this is, thank God it's not Stars, like, right, or Showtime or whatever it was originally
no one would watch it. I'm not even trying to be mean, but nobody would watch it.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I'd pirate the shit out of it because I don't want to get that one-off streaming series. So thank God they wised up and put it on Paramount Plus, which actually has other stuff on it, and they're putting more stuff on there. So I'm like, thank God for this, because the release date is supposedly March 24th, and that's, I don't know if that's the whole series or episodic, but I'm very excited to see how this pays off, because I want to watch it. I want to see how it is. I want to be excited. I want people to feel the same excitement. I want to come in the weekend after and be like, oh my God, you got to watch this, Mike, and see what we can do. But
one thing I don't know if they maybe briefly showed it in the other teaser trailer, but this trailer didn't show a Halo at all, right? Like it seems like they're almost keying it as like, maybe the end credit scene of the last episode will be like the Halo ring, like floating out into space or something. It seems like we're slowly going to get to it.
Or it could be, a middle of the season thing, because in the Halo universe, when you play the first game, you accidentally stumble upon the Halo. Like it's not anything anyone knows about beforehand. Like there's some random coordinates and they spit it out and they're at the Halo. So I wouldn't be surprised, but there are a lot of Forerunner architecture and designs. You see him touch a blue, the blue thing that was like, that indicates a Forerunner computer construct or whatever there in the trailer. They've got a lot of questions to answer to people who don't know, like yourself, but also a lot to prove that, hey, we're making changes. We're gonna make this accessible to everybody, and I hope that they do so without it just being, as much as I want it to be just action packed, Master Chief being badass the whole time, it needs to be more than that. It's got to have a reason to exist, other than just guns and shooting aliens. As much as I can do that in a video game, right? So, very, very excited. Hopefully this comes out March 24th. I didn't look at the end of the trailer. Literally, we ended it and then jumped right into the show. So, very excited to go back and watch this later. Link is in the show notes. Continuing on to Star Wars. So this week, EA, who lost the exclusive rights to Star Wars recently, has announced they're working on 3 more Star Wars games, which isn't bad, because I know you didn't play Fallen Order yet, right? You're not.
Yeah,
or did you
I played it. I played it a little bit, but I kind of fell off and got distracted with life.
Fallen Order is one of the highlight of the Star Wars games ever, like, in recent memory, the past 20 years to me, because you play as a single person. It's got the Souls-like approach, right? Like where you have to, time your parries. You learn stuff. You can explore the levels. It's not Battlefront. There's no monetization in the game. It's literally, you pay for it, you play the campaign, boom, you're done. And they've recently upgraded it for the next generation consoles for graphics and stuff like that. Looks beautiful. Love it. They've announced a sequel. Rumor has it comes out this fall, which would be great at the end of the year, to jump back into this little history of Star Wars. Very great story. I recommend anyone play it. But the other thing they announced was 2 other games and just their genres. One is a first-person shooter game, which fits Star Wars. I assume I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a Clone Wars or something style game, right?
Or Bounty Hunter or something.
Yeah, like, no lightsabers involved, that's fine. But then a strategy game, which reminds me literally of Galactic Battlegrounds. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they put out another RTS game or like an XCOM style game, right? Like where you have
they have even more to go off of, right? Clone Wars series, the new trilogy, the new shows, just a lot more models that you can look at from top down, right?
and if the thing about strategy games is they don't need to be canonically correct for me to enjoy them. Like maybe I want to take the first order against Gungans, like from episode 1. Like I don't care if the story mix and matches timelines, because the gameplay is going to be fun and you get to play as the ones you want to play as, right? So if you want to mix and match, the Droid Republic versus, what is it? The Resistance in the
I love this. I love this idea of, like, how in a fighting game you have your mains, right? I would love it if somebody would main as Gungans, right? Like, I know everything about the mechanics of these Gungans. I got a whole line of Jar Jars out on the battlefield. You ain't gonna stop me. And then you just hear like the sound effects of like Gungans going off. That'd be
Boss Nass out there like shaking his jowls at you. Which is funny because that's in Galactic Battlegrounds, because they are actually one of the the big shield domes they make. Like that's like one of their standout features. Like they can make these big shield domes that you can't shoot out of or into, but you can walk through them. So and they're good against robots, so that's be interesting. But they probably would suck against the stormtroopers running through there. So I'm excited to see kind of what they do with that. First, I like first person shooters. That's what I go to, but I'm not like, there's no Star Wars IP I'm like, oh my god, this has got to be a shooter, right? Unless you think they do like a Mandalorian game, like a prequel, like before he gets Grogu in the first one.
I feel like a bounty hunter game would just be supreme. Hunting down. I mean, it's kind of like the Hitman game series, right? Yeah. Or just any sort of like maybe stealth shooter type of game, but you just put it in a Star Wars universe.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
You could pick your bounties. Each bounty would have like a difficulty level to it. Higher threat, higher reward. It's got tons of gameplay mechanics that you could build into that.
And Star Wars has a cast of characters to really make that worthwhile. So, these are nice. I think Fallen Order, if you've not played it, I'd recommend it highly. Give it a try. Put it on easy if you don't like the Dark Souls stuff. Definitely really expands the Star Wars universe, and you get to play as someone with a lightsaber, and you can customize your lightsaber to no extent in that game.
If I remember correctly, when I was looking at the difficulty level, I think there's a level even below easy that's just strictly story mode. Yeah. So I don't think there's any challenge to it whatsoever. Probably everything dies in one hit. I think it's just strictly so you can see all the cutscenes. I guess you could just go on YouTube, and I'm sure somebody has already uploaded all the cutscenes.
It's still really fun to play. I think the window for parrying is a lot bigger on the story mode. Like, you don't have to be as quick with your reflexes on the timeliness of that too. But I really enjoy the lightsaber. You can have single blades. You can find a double bladed lightsaber in there to craft. So it's definitely really fun. And we'll talk a little bit more about one of the characters who has possibly inspired another appearance in a recent show. So I think that's it for news. Let's jump into some show discussions. I think from here on out, full spoilers for Book of Boba Fett and Peacemaker. So if you've not seen them, go watch them, come back, but we're going to just jump right into them a little bit here.
And coincidentally enough, both episodes have just finished airing their 5th episodes. Yep. And I would think they're both running 8-episode seasons. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think
one of them's 7.
Okay, so maybe one, but we're kind of both in kind of like the same narrative time frame for both of the shows. And who knows, even this 5th episode of Book of Boba Fett could even technically be removed from the story, but it's probably the most entertaining. And Chris, why don't you just tell people why episode 5 is on the show specifically this week, and why we're even talking about it?
Because it was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard.
No, Chris, that's not it.
Oh, okay. No, this isn't even a Boba Fett episode. This is The Mandalorian season 2.5, if you will.
The episode's even called the Return of the Mandalorian or The Mandalorian Returns, one of those. So I don't know if that title has been kind of hidden or if it was out there early, but I
had no idea. I had no idea, and I look up show notes pretty early on, The only indication we had was episode 4 had his little theme at the end.
Yeah, at the very, very end when they kind of were like, hey, we're going to need some help. Yeah. But, who knows if, what does that mean? Does he show up in the very last act of, the very last episode, like a Deus Ex, Mandalorian,
Do they make a call? Does he get a bounty puck? Who knows? It could have been the most throwaway thing in the world, but instead... he opens up hunting down a bounty in this dog creature butcher shop kind of thing, and he uses both his spear, his Beskar spear, and his newly acquired Darksaber.
I forgot he had the Darksaber, so that was so badass when he whipped it out. I was like, he's got it, and then it's so cool.
and then you find out that he's not. Then you remember he's not a Jedi, and he sorely needs help using the Darksaber because he burned himself pretty good with it. That's how I'd use a lightsaber, right? I'd cut something off or burn myself pretty quick, and you can see that he's not as good with it. But then you find out the Darksaber has some sort of mythical property to it where it gets heavier with every swing if you fight against it, right?
Who knows if you could call it mysticism, or who knows, it could
force,
just be it could be the property of whatever's making this kind of mysterious dark blade. Maybe the matter gets heavier, who knows exactly. But I have to say, it was just refreshing to get out of the desert. So we haven't really been talking a whole lot about the Book of Boba Fett. I think if this episode wouldn't have popped up, we probably just would have done a recap at the end of the season,
right?
But I've been enjoying it, but it's not scheduled TV for me, right? I'm not super worried if it gets spoiled. I try to catch it when I can. Sometimes I'm okay if I'm an episode or two behind. So I'm glad I finally caught up, because I wouldn't have wanted this spoiled if it didn't have to be. It's been an okay ride. There was an episode the other week where there's some of these hovering Vespa scooters. They look so dumb. I hate them. But the characters that are riding them are kind of cool. They're these modders, and they kind of have these extra cyberpunk attachments.
Yeah, pretty much.
That kind of is cool. But I don't know, just the mopeds looked really dumb to me. So I've been rolling my eyes a little bit, but overall it's been a positive experience. And then it's just surprising to get season 3 of The Mandalorian starting up in the middle of this Boba Fett show.
Right, and it featured the return of actually characters we hadn't seen since season 1 of The Mandalorian. The armor and the Paz Vizsla was not. They weren't in season 2 because
that's Jon Favreau, right? I don't know if he's underneath the armor, but he's voicing it, right?
No, he's he voiced Pre Vizsla in the animated show, not Paz Vizsla. It's a different character.
I feel like we should call him Post Vizsla then. You got Pre Vizsla, then Post Vizsla.
Exactly. So So he was a character. He voiced a character in the Clone Wars, and that's what got him into everything here with Dave Filoni. And again, I believe this episode was written by Dave Filoni as well, which obviously shows the stuff the Star Wars thing. But what to me, there's two things here. Early on, this world he's on is essentially a Halo. He is literally
that's true. And
finds he's bounty hunting on this Halo ring, which also had a visual effect that reminded me of old Gundam Wing colonies, because they rotate in the distance for that gravity thing. And it was really interesting to see these two Mandalorians are left in the underground, if you will, on the edge of the space ring where they could literally fall off into space at any second without their space packs.
Actually, Chris, I just looked it up. Paz Vizsla is voiced by Jon Favreau.
Okay,
I just looked up the IMDb on.
Perfect. Well, I just know Pre Vizsla was, so I didn't assume he'd do both, but that's interesting to know. That. So
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't under the armor. Right? They could put anybody under that. But I love the aesthetic change. The desert was getting a little tiring, and not only did we get to go back into space, but a really cool location. They did a little bit of a uncut shot, and then he was kind of going up the elevator and delivering the head of his bounty. So that was cool to get some camera tricks there. I was enjoying this.
Yeah, and it was real. I mean, it's a shorter episode, I feel, overall, but that's not bad. Short episodes leave you wanting more. And then he finds out that he has to go atone for his sins on the the waterfalls of Mandalore, which we actually got to see some flashback of Mandalore being glassed pretty much by the Republic. They blew up everything.
Yeah, we got a lot of backstory. We learned a whole lot. I'm glad this episode was as long as it was. I think it clocked in. I think it was north of 50 minutes. I don't know exactly what it was, but I was loving every minute. This came at just the right time.
So, and then he goes back to Tatooine to get a ship from the Strangers with Candy Star. I can't remember her name at all, but
Amy Sedaris.
Yes. I will say I'm not thrilled that he is now piloting an old Naboo starfighter, but it's fine. I'm not losing sleep over. Like I don't care enough to lose sleep over it.
I thought it was so cool because like I'm just like falling for like the same trick that a lot of other people fall for in this nostalgia. New Star Wars universe. It's just like, oh, I remember that thing. That's cool. And they pimped it out like a hot rod. I thought it was kind of weird. Like they put this kind of engine block thing
on the front of it. It's like a Fast and Furious car. I'm like, he's in like, space.
He's got to look around it, but I was like, okay, whatever. So I just thought it was cool to see it again. Yeah. One thing I didn't enjoy so well, even though I love the actor, I love the character of the X-wing kind of captain, the Paul Sung-Young Lee who from Kim's Convenience, who plays the character. I just kept thinking, space is gigantic. What are the odds that these two X-Wing cops, right, just happen to be over the planet and have this connection with Mando? So I guess you just kind of have to just like throw that away of just like, oh, they just wanted to do some kind of just something fun and cheeky here and just also show off how fast the ship is. But I was like, okay, this is a really forced cameo.
So the other guy has been playing another character here. I'm going to look it up real fast.
Cascadag, or is it Max Lloyd Jones?
Max Lloyd Jones has played another character in this show, which people are like, well, why would he be back? He was the body double for Luke Skywalker in the last scene of Mandalorian.
That's why he looks familiar. Yeah.
So he's the body double, and it's interesting. I mean, yeah, it's convenient, but it's whatever. They want to show the fast car. He's got a hot rod now driving around, and it's fun to see that. And then you get to see the Tinker droids or whatever they're called. But then there was the BD-1 droid, which is actually, it's not. I'm pretty sure I've looked this up. People have tried to tell me differently. It's not the same model that you have in Fallen Order. It's not the same one, but it's like similar to that model of the little helper droid in Fallen Order. Mm-hmm. So that was that to me, that was a little fun throwback. It's just I'm pretty sure that droid spot where she turned into a dome will be a Grogu riding spot. What do you think? Like she's like, oh, I took the droid thing out and put in like a little dome for you.
Yeah, because really, if you think about it, like, put extra engine parts in there, you soup it up, and that, you totally expect to see a little Grogu head up there, and everyone's gonna be like, oh, this is adorable, and I will not be immune to it. And we all want to know what he made for.
Yeah, what he get his Beskar spear turned into? It looked like chainmail, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Just because you kind of see pseudo chain links coming off of it. Who knows if that's just like slag or something? Yeah. I don't know how smelting works. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. But I was like, oh my god, if they put a little baby Mandalorian helmet on this Grogu, I'm going to die. But just the fact that he's making him anything, and he says we are different than the Jedi. We don't detach. It's all about family and loyalty. As Vin Diesel would say. Yeah. Third time's the charm. I'm finally remembered his name.
That bald guy, the muscly bald guy would say family.
But like how you kind of alluded to, I don't remember if this was before we started recording or not. We're not exactly sure what's the timeline here, because Fennec Shan shows up, says, "Hey, Boba Fett needs some help," and he's like, "Hey, I'll do it for free. We're bros now."
But hold on, I got to run an errand.
Yeah, and it's just like there's no way they're not gonna show us at some point in time, right? Yeah. Him meeting Grogu again, seeing what's going on, giving him his cool little T-shirt or whatever it happens to be, right? Yeah. So do we see that at the beginning of Mando Season 3 as a bit of a flashback? Because that's kind of weird, because it would be a flashback, but then you kind of have to jump post Boba Fett. Uh-huh. So is the next episode, is Mando just going to be in the desert with him ready to go? Just like, oh, I just got done with my errand. Yeah. So, I'm not too sure what's happening on Wednesday.
They've left us in an interesting spot where he's like, yeah, I'll help you, but then I got to go do something. That's like, I got to do it first, and then I'll help you. And you're like, So is he going to go away and we don't see it, and then he just shows up? I don't even know if he showed up at the beginning, but he might show up at a crucial moment in a fight against the Pike Syndicate. I don't know.
Well, Chris, to answer your question, the Book of Boba Fett is 7 episodes. I'm looking at it here right now. And Chapter 6 and Chapter 7 have not been titled yet, have not been named. So that makes sense why the Return of the Mandalorian wasn't known until it aired.
So Peacemaker is 8 episodes. So so I knew one of them was 7, one is 8. So I think this is a great reprieve from the current Book of Boba Fett episodes.
From the
they're
sand,
not bad.
it's coarse,
they're not good.
And it gets everywhere.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're not good. But it needs to get to its ending very quickly. Like we're at episode 4, which we hadn't talked about. He gets out of the back to tank. He's 100% healed. No more flashbacks for us. So the next 2 really got to blow us out of the water with some surprises and some actual stakes, because there's not really been stakes up until now.
If Boba Fett's not riding on that Rancor, like he alluded to, I'm going to be so disappointed.
Well,
I don't care. I don't care how fan servicey a moment like that would be. I want it so bad.
What do they call it? Chekhov's Rancor?
Chekhov's Rancor, yeah.
Yeah, if he says he's going to ride it, I think that'll be like, I mean, if he doesn't ride it through downtown, like at the end of the season, like
and give me the satisfaction of watch it step on those stupid Vespas. I know the Vespas are now aligned in Boba Fett's favor, but I want to see him crushed by
forget
the
Vespas. I want to see him take that annoying second hand to the mayor and bite his head off with it. Like he picks him up and like bites his head off there at the end. He's like, all right, I'm in charge now. There's a lot to they need to do a lot in 2 episodes, and I believe much like some of the Mandalorian stuff, like, we're going to get a lot at the end of this. I don't expect a season 2, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think this one-off Book of Boba Fett event will be good to go, but, I wouldn't make the character not appear in any other Star Wars stuff. I just don't think he needs his own show after this, right? Like,
well, if you're looking at it time-wise, the last episode will air on the 9th, and then that following weekend is the Super Bowl. So if there is any sort of stinger at the end of Boba Fett that hints towards more of the Disney Plus Star Wars universe, maybe we will see that trailer during the Super Bowl.
Do you know who was on Tatooine for most of his life post Episode 3? Obi-Wan.
Was it Elvis Presley?
It was actually
I know.
the king himself, Elvis Presley. You're right. They have a lot of peanut butter and bantha sandwiches you can eat there.
It was John Cena. You just usually can't see him there. You just can't see him.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Obi-Wan with Tatooine is such a pivotal planet, but there's nothing fucking going on it. So it's very hard, I think, to make it interesting. So hopefully Obi-Wan goes off of Tatooine when he's doing his show. Because this is kind of boring. Like you said, it's just sand and desert and stuff like that. So anyway, moving on. Peacemaker, Mike, episode 5 of Peacemaker's here. We've not talked about this since the first episode, right? This is our first, our return foray back into Peacemaker since it debuted. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mind you, it was only 2 weeks ago because they did 3 the first week, but we actually channel, we when episode 4 came out, we went through and did 2, 3, and 4 all in a row here at our house, and then we didn't watch episode 5 on Thursday, but Friday we did. And it's been interesting. If you don't know this, if you don't follow James Gunn on social media, he is doing watch parties with the main cast every Saturday, where he answers questions and talks about the episode when they watch them together on streaming.
Yeah.
So
not too surprising. The Peacemaker is unabashedly James Gunn, and I think we might have even mentioned that when we talked about the first episode the other week on the show. And I would say that goes in his favor sometimes and against it. I feel like there's banter moments with some characters where I'm just like, why are they saying that right now? Why is this going on here? It doesn't really overall detract from the entertainment value of the show, but I'm just like, okay, this is where maybe it wouldn't have been a bad idea if like the network came in with maybe some notes, right? It seems like he's been given carte blanche, and this is kind of what you get. So I wouldn't mind maybe what would happen in a season 2 where Gunn has kind of already set up the universe and the characters, and maybe we get to kind of come in with maybe a little bit of a different kind of creative lead. But overall, you do get the craziness that comes out of James Gunn, especially here in James 5. You get a chainsaw through a gorilla,
Yep.
which I'm sure
Chekhov's
PETA
chainsaw.
hated. Yes, I'm sure PETA hated that moment, even though they clearly stated that the gorilla was controlled by one of the butterflies. But still, that was an innocent gorilla at one point in time. But it is really, really crazy. The whole season has been pretty nuts. So it definitely keeps you off your phone and scrolling, which is more than you can say about most other shows out there.
Well,
I think this is one of the biggest streaming shows as well. I keep seeing the headline that this is the biggest streaming thing out there right now. So it's definitely beating a lot of other premium properties out there at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think it's also, I think what they say, the highest rated DC property now over Wonder Woman even. So that's great. I think it is way more entertaining. Like, I would watch this over Wonder Woman right now, I think, but at the same time, there's a lot of shock value in here. It's just shock value to shock value, right? Like, there's no point to some of the shit. And that's not to say it's a bad show or anything. Like, but like you said, it's literally, it can go from like where he's listing off celebrities for 5 minutes that he could have, put in prison, to like them actually having good moments and building character throughout this. So it goes back and forth. It ebbs and flows. And I think this episode ends at a crucial point where we, again, spoilers, that we find out that Myrn is one of the butterflies. So why is a butterfly killing the other butterflies? Is it to maintain secrecy, or is he a good butterfly taking out the bad ones? I don't know. Like, what? Yeah, we're gonna find out more about this. I don't think they'll kill off Myrn. And I'm trying to figure out what the main actress, her mom is Amanda Waller. What is she doing? Why is she planning a diary for Peacemaker? What's her ulterior motive at the end of this as well?
Yeah, exactly. I think what we're both trying to say is we're just looking for like a little bit more finesse, and I don't think that necessarily would detract from just like the craziness of the show that's made it so popular. John Cena is an icon. I'm loving this dude. I'm here for the Cena-sance, or whatever we want to call it. I'll follow him to the ends of the earth because he's just so energetic when he's on the screen, and I can't look away. He's so funny. So,
it's funny. I really enjoyed this episode where he got a new helmet and he's like activate X-ray vision, and then he just starts blowing people's heads off. Like, I was like, this is actually entertaining. This is a Peacemaker, like he's got abilities, he's got skills. This is why he was put away.
Yeah, this is kind of the first time we get to see what he can do in the Suicide Squad movie, right? Like, I keep going back to that moment that was played for a joke at the very end, where they just him and Bullseye, not Bullseye, not Sportsmaster.
Not Deadshot.
Sportsman. What's his name?
Bloodshot.
Bloodshot. Where they're going.
No, Bloodshot. That was Vin Diesel.
What, Chris?
Bloodsport. Is it Bloodsport? I think it's Bloodsport.
Idris Elba.
Yeah.
When Idris Elba and John Cena are going through that forest, and they're just killing all these people just effortlessly because they have like these skills, right? I've been waiting to kind of see that again from Peacemaker, and we get to see that with this like ridiculous like triple chambered like shotgun, and then he straps a grenade to like a thing, and he's like, "What? I had to tell you to jump away from a bomb I just made."
Yeah.
So this was firing on some strong cylinders here. I'm curious how it's going to wrap up, because the mystery and the stakes seem very, very high, right? These butterflies seem to be everywhere. My guess is they do some sort of analysis with like butterfly food, and maybe they like poison or kill off all the butterflies and sink at some point.
They'll find a way to like recover the person and not the butterfly, because the trailer for the next one shows the butterfly he's captured making a peace symbol. On the jar, so I think they're going to find a way to reverse the butterfly effects. For that, I actually have enjoyed. I thought Vigilante was going to be like someone who's all talk no walk, but in episode 4 when he fights the white supremacists in the jail, and he just like took them all down, I'm like, oh goddamn, he actually is, someone who has trained and become a fighter overall. Yes, so I was very impressed with that scene. So,
so overall, the check-in for Boba Fett 5 and Peacemaker 5, different things to talk about, but I would say we are both all in on the shows. It seems like nothing's stopping us now.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't dread the next week, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I've got something on Wednesday and something on Thursday for me. So usually the back half of the week, I'm like, I can watch something and enjoy it. So. This is premium streaming television, justifying both Disney Plus and HBO Max for me right now. So, thrilled for that. So that's what we got there. that is the episode, Mike. We somehow turned the lightest week into one of our longest episodes. So
Chris, that's because we're professionals. You can give us one bullet point to talk about, and we will go on and on and on for an hour. And that's basically what our review episodes are, right? It's just one bullet point talking about one movie, and we go for an hour.
Yeah, and honest, I wouldn't say we're professionals, but at least we know how to have a good conversation, and that's what matters. But anyway, if people know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at, man?
They can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and wherever else you might find that handle. I don't know where else I have it. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, Mike Royer Design. You can find my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
Well, I'm probably doing some arcade photos. I haven't posted a lot in social lately, but I'm going to probably put some of my arcade stuff on there because it's really fun. So I'm going to put it on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN, and Instagram, Valdan87. Also, you can use those to find me both on PlayStation and Xbox, respectively. If people know more about the show, what we're doing, where they can find us for our next review episode, which I believe will be the Batman in March, where can they find all that good information at?
Oh, it's easy. It's just superheroslate.com, superheroslate.com, superheroslate.com.
Third time's a charm. Now we'll appear in your house if you say it 3 times.
Yeah, Vin Diesel's going to pop up in my closet.
Yeah.
That's where you can find that official release of the Spider-Man script, the concept art of Mysterio, the Halo trailer. If you're having trouble hunting that down, we have that all in our show notes there. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. Reach out and let us know what you're thinking of the Book of Boba Fett, what you're thinking of Peacemaker, which one do you look forward to the most during the week, and if things are turning around for you now that Mando has returned. Let us know, and if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, make sure you are vaccinated, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. We will catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.